Begin share.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So good afternoon to our corporate partners and sponsors. Thank you for joining us today for the CREST Partnership Information Session. My name is Blake Reynolds. I'm with CBRE, and I'm also a member of the CoreNet New England DEI and the boards committees. So I'd like to start by thanking our valued corporate partners, as well as our Founders Circle Platinum and Gold and Silver sponsors. And I'd also like to share some exciting upcoming events the New England chapter has planned, with the next big event being a sustainability panel on November 29th at Creative Office Resources headquarters in the Seaport. And then to close out the year is the CoreNet holiday party on December 8th at Boston Art. So hopefully we all see you there. And I'll hand it over to Ankit, who will introduce those who are joining us today from CREST.
Thank you, Blake. Hello, some of you know me. My name is Ankit, and I am serving in access control industry. I am a manager in transit, so I'm in between my jobs. And I currently serve on the DEI committee and the PropTech committee in New York chapter. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Milton Benjamin, whom some of you know, or I think most of you know, who's the CREST program founder, and Jason Poo, a consultant with CREST and who leads their recruitment efforts. So over to you guys.
Thank you, Ankit.
Milton, you're on mute.
Well, sorry. Let's start with that glitch. Ankit, thank you for the introduction. And let me open by first giving my great warm thank you to CoreNet for being an ally in the evolution of interns in the corporate commercial area, and for strongly influencing and guiding the lives of very talented students of color and women over the last few years. And you've done so through internships and subsidies and through student mentorships that we appreciate. And you are a thought leader and thought partner with us on internships and how to help sort of populate the commercial real estate world with people who have talent and interest that just 10 years ago wasn't there. I think we're at a turning point where the industry, the commercial real estate profession, understands the value of having more as part of its population and more and diverse thought as participants, and the mechanisms for getting there. And for the students, you've opened up a world that wasn't there just 10 years ago. The idea of being in commercial real estate on the commercial side or being involved at all was not on the scan of most students of color and women. Today, we think that's changing, certainly for women, and people of color are, we think, by way of this year's experience, moving more strongly and more affirmatively towards commercial real estate as a possible career. So thank you for that.
How many alumni are there now?
We have many alumni. We have 50 or more who are now engaged in commercial real estate as a part of their careers. And Mark, it's an interesting question that you raise. What we've discovered is that it's not necessarily true that what is true is that where you start is necessarily where you finish. And we're finding that students who may have started in real estate have gone on to other fields, and those who started in other fields but had a CREST experience are now seeing commercial real estate as the space to monitor. So our alumni group, now totaling about 50 students across the country, inform us every day of the changes and the growth and development of not only their group, but students who entered the field from many different places. So
great.
thank you for that question, Mark.
The impact that we're having, and we're so happy to be able to do it, is immense. And I'm just going to call out Liberty Mutual in particular, because year after year they stand up and they have partnered with CREST and have been a huge supporter. This takes a lot of work. Being an intern and an employer or a mentor, you've got to roll up your sleeves and you've got to make a commitment, but it's the right thing to do. It's driving diversity and inclusion. It's filling our pipeline, and we should be really proud of our efforts. Other chapters look up to us and wish that they had a similar program. We are so fortunate to have this program, but it requires resources, it requires dedication, resources being money and time. In any event, I'm really thrilled and happy that everybody joined today. All of you, in some regard, have contributed to the CREST program, and we are committed to only making it better and better and better. In fact, we want to have 30 mentors and mentees this year. That is our goal. We had 8 last year. So huge opportunity, lofty goals, but I know that we can do it, and I've been busy trying to help recruit some mentors. That's it. I'm going to give it back to you, Milton, but I just wanted to say a few things.
No, well, thank you for that, Mark. In fact, it helps to highlight how far we've come in 5 years from that luncheon meeting myself, you, Sandra King, and Aurora Camarada had. That now leads us to being able to envision 30 mentorships, multiple internships, and a path forward. So thank you, and thank you again. Next slide. Here's a bit of the background. The idea of diversity in the commercial real estate was not uniquely mine, nor perhaps anyone on this screen, but a fellow named Dick Galvin did think about it. And he and I teamed up to sort of refashion, if you will, the possible pipeline to finding people who would be employed in commercial real estate. And we did so by looking to one university at the time and creating an internship program, which we did in 2012. Since over that period between 2012 and 2016, we placed 64 students in the industry, largely paid for by Dick Galvin and supported by people who were on a particular real estate project of his. Then what the accomplishments at that point came to the attention of NAIOP, ULI, GREB, then later CoreNet, and together they represent the commercial real estate industry trade associations who support what we do and from whom we get plenty of advice and who are thought leaders with us. And together we are moving the dial in diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly as it relates to populating the industry. Next slide. Thank you. And so this is in part what our structure looks like today. Mark, hope we don't mind us stealing a little picture there with you and Josh. The picture it tells a big story. This is the closing ceremony of a summer internship in 2019, where students, interns like Josh, found themselves in position to take a job in the industry. And as a relationship with Mark Watkins and Thermo Fisher, Josh finished the program, and you'll see him again. We have a little surprise for you at the back end. There are the employers for 2022. As you can see, it's across the board in sort of the focus of respective firms. So there are brokerage firms, there are development firms. Arrow Street is an architectural firm. Skanska is a construction management and development firm. There in the center, you see Liberty Mutual. So we're able to find talented students who have a particular interest that matches well with the employers you see here. And for the 10 weeks during the summer, they're employed by these and other firms. And we certainly hope that among the 2023 firms will be a number of CoreNet members. Next. Here you see as I referenced earlier, the network of interaction, thought partnership, leadership, and support we get via a number of groups. CoreNet New England, New England chapter being strong among them. NAIOP Massachusetts, GREB, ULI. We get hands-on support with HYM. The two listed at the bottom are particularly helpful because they help to guide the students on sort of the sort of tactical side of networking and preparing your resume and preparing yourself to work in the industry. These are two executive search firms who help to guide us and guide the students in making the transition from student to employee rather. Next.
Yes.
Jason?
Thank you. And yes, these are our academic partners, and these are the academic institutions that CREST partners with in terms of finding those students from underrepresented backgrounds to assist you with your diversity and equity efforts. And so, as Milton mentioned, at first we were just aligned with the University of Massachusetts at Boston, but since our inception in 2012, we've expanded to all of these partner schools. And so we're able to find talent at these individual schools. Primarily, we chose these institutions based off of the strength of their career service offices. And so we work with a number of folks within those offices to spread the word as it relates to CREST and some of the opportunities that we have throughout the summer. In addition to that, we also have relationships with a number of professors on these campuses. They're able to tell their students about many of the vibrant opportunities within corporate and commercial real estate. We're also very thankful for a number of the identity-based groups on these campuses in which we have partnerships with as well. They definitely assist us with finding, again, those underrepresented populations on their campuses. And so we do a number of presentations at real estate clubs, business clubs, and also a number of identity-based groups on these campuses. So we'll continue to look through the CREST program through this student lens. And so it is a 10-week internship. Generally, our internships are around 40 hours per week. And prior to the pandemic, we had a model in which we would have our students participate within a cohort model in an in-person model in which they would take a number of the CREST virtual education program courses throughout a couple of days. During the pandemic, we then shifted to a virtual model, and we were very successful with that model over the past couple of years. And so we've asked our employers to allot 2 hours per week for our CREST virtual education program. And so our students are having very different day-to-day experiences at their places of work, each being hired by different firms. However, they're meeting twice per week to get to know each other and build camaraderie amongst themselves, all identifying as underrepresented students of color and women. And this is where they receive our virtual education program, where the two primary goals are to provide our students with both professional development and then also commercial real estate business acumen. And so as it relates to commercial real estate business acumen, we have a number of modules in which we have many speakers come in to present to our students about some of those necessary skills for entry-level positions within the field. And so, for example, there might be a module on asset management, the role of a developer. I see Dan Peruzzi on this call. He leads a workshop as it relates to the anatomy of a building and the role of an architect. And so our students have the opportunity to delve into a number of areas within corporate and commercial real estate. We also have a number of professional coaches on hand to provide our students with those professional development skills that will also be necessary for those entry-level positions. And so we have speakers as it relates to public speaking, personal brand development, and business writing, just to name a few. I think one of the favorite courses of our students would have to be that public speaking course, in which we work with a professor from the Harvard Chan School of Public Health, Jack Rawson, who also has his own firm. And so each of our students have to do short presentations as it relates to their internship experiences And it is truly amazing to see how students are able to take those skills and apply them not only at their places of work, but then also back at their academic institutions as well. Now, in terms of consistent feedback and evaluation, this is where our colleague Sandra King comes in. And Sandra occupies a very unique role in which she's in touch with both the intern and then the intern's direct manager throughout the entirety of the summer. And so Sandra has the best idea of how the program is running on both ends. Sandra asks each of our interns to send her a short report at the conclusion of each week, generally 1 to 3 paragraphs about some of the new exposures that the intern has received that week. And it serves as a check-in just to see how things are going for the intern at their place of work. Again, Sandra is then in touch with that intern's direct manager to make sure that those expectations are being met on both sides and that the intern is meeting that specific job description and the qualifications that you sought out for an intern. And so Milton did a wonderful job of highlighting a number of the networking opportunities at CREST, primarily through a number of those professional trade associations that he was able to mention. I'll also just highlight the CREST alumni network. And since the beginning of the program in 2012, we have about 150 students who have gone through our program, and those students now find themselves within different positions in their career. And so a number of them have found themselves in positions where they're able to recruit current students and have them join their organizations, which has been great. They also occupy a spot within our virtual education program each year where we have a panel to show some of the varied paths that our students have taken within commercial real estate. I think this is another great group within CREST because it does serve as an affinity group for many of our students. Again, all identifying as underrepresented students of color or women. They then have that ability to learn from some other students who have gone through the process and might have tread similar paths to them within the industry as well. I'll now highlight our class of 2021. And this class was very special throughout that virtual year, and they had a number of touch points with CoreNet. I'll first highlight the student here, Tristan Moore. And so Tristan completed his internship at Oxford Properties. He was a student at Brandeis University. And Tristan did a wonderful job of really taking advantage of a number of our networking opportunities at CREST. And at the end of the program, it was really great to see his development as it relates to networking. And so throughout his time at Oxford Properties, he had to conduct a number of site visits. And he actually met some folks from Rise Construction Management and was able to apply those networking skills to ultimately land a position as an assistant project manager where he now works at Rise Construction. And so we're very proud of Tristan. Down at the bottom here, I'll highlight Carolyn Lamb. And Carolyn was very unique throughout that year where she was based in California. She attended Wellesley College. And so she completed her internship 100% virtually at CV Properties. And she was able to, of course, integrate within that organization very well within that virtual model. I will say that this year, a number of our employers have expressed an interest to have students return to the office. And we definitely think that's a great move on the part of many firms. And so some firms have also expressed an interest within a hybrid format this year where a student might come into the office 2 or 3 days a week. And so this is definitely a conversation we'd be happy to have with any employers as it relates to the location of the internship coming up. Lastly, I'll just highlight Alex.
Jason, where's Carolyn now?
Yes, Carolyn is now in California at Aries Management, and she was also able to use some of those networking skills throughout the CREST program to land that position out in California at Aries Management.
Thank you.
And Alex Lasada, who was a wonderful intern at Northland. He really benefited from the mentoring program with CoreNet, where his mentor was Jackie Falla. And so Alex today finds himself within graduate school. And so he's currently pursuing his MA in finance. And so he was able to attend the most recent summer soiree this past summer. And so he continues to be involved with both CREST in our alumni network and then also with CoreNet as well. Here's our most recent class, and I'm sure a number of you have had the opportunity to meet some of these students throughout this past year at a number of your events. And so I would also just like to take a little bit of time to highlight some of the events that we were able to attend this past year. And so as many of you know, the interns had the opportunity to attend your Young Leader event by the EID committee at Spin Boston, where a number of our interns were able to play ping pong with many of your members, and they were really able to take a lot away from that event in terms of meeting the young leaders and creating those initial connections that have really lasted throughout the summer. They also, down at the bottom, we'll have Juliana Averone, who recently attended your event in Chicago, where she was able to attend this conference, where she was able to attend the Global Summit. And so she was able to learn a lot about many of the inner workings of corporate real estate. And she's extremely thankful to many of you for reaching out to her and continuing to support her in her career as she begins those entry-level steps in terms of looking for a full-time position. Continuing on, here we have some photos from the event with the CREST group throughout the summer, our virtual education program, in which a number of you were able to present as it relates to some of the offerings at CoreNet Global and extend those free student memberships, which we're extremely thankful for. But again, our students have had many touch points with your membership, and this is really helpful for our students as it relates to that inclusion and belonging piece, making sure that our students are feeling included within the industry once they're here and occupying those internships throughout the summer. At the bottom, I'll also highlight my colleague Sandra King, and also the individual you saw earlier pictured with Mark Watkins, Josh Munoz, all grown up here, most recently at your golf tournament. And so this was a wonderful event that we were able to extend to one of our CREST alums. And so both Sandra and Josh were out there on the course with many of you. And so we're so thankful for all of those events this past summer. And we really look forward to continuing that engagement moving forward. I want to take some time now to highlight the mentoring program itself. And so this was our second year of the mentoring program, which was extremely successful. And so all of these students throughout the past 2 years have been touched by the CREST mentoring program itself. And each of these students received a mentor from CoreNet Global throughout the past 2 years. Many of them have since graduated, and some of them are still within their academic institutions. But I really want to take some time to thank both Aurora and Corinne for all of the work that they've put in over these past 2 years and bringing this mentoring program to where it is today. It definitely provides our students with another touch point outside of their workplace assignment to continue to learn and grow as it relates to their own professional development. We really look forward to expanding the program the coming year. Again, our beta year was extremely successful, and we received some wonderful feedback from both mentors and mentees. And I look forward to working with Abby this year in terms of making matches for all of our interns. Again, our hope is to have 30 students within our cohort, and then also matching that with 30 mentors. And so it would be great, hopefully this upcoming summer, to have an event in which we're all able to gather 60 folks in a room. And so a number of CREST interns and also their mentors as well. And so thank you so much for this partnership. I want to highlight 2 of the students that you have extended opportunities to throughout this past year, particularly attending 2 of your conferences. And so, as I mentioned previously, Juliana, she had the opportunity to attend Summit in Chicago recently, two weeks ago, with many of you to actually learn about some of the inner workings of corporate real estate, an opportunity that she wouldn't have had if it weren't for both the CREST program and that's this partnership with CoreNet Global. And so thank you so much for supporting Juliana. Jessica Harrington, another one of our students who really benefited from that mentoring program as well. Her mentor was Mark Watkins, and Jessica was at Liberty Mutual. Again, we were able to highlight that wonderful relationship that we've had with Liberty Mutual these past couple of years. And so thank you to all the folks from Liberty Mutual, and also the continued support from CoreNet as it relates to Jessica in terms of giving her that opportunity to attend that conference. And so really extending these free student memberships has been a wonderful opportunity for our students to not only engage with you at CoreNet, but also find those opportunities for continued learning at a number of your conferences as well. And so this now brings us to the summer program itself. I just want to highlight that our dates are running from June 5th through August 11th this upcoming summer. And again, it's a 10-week internship program. In terms of setting us up for success, there's some things that we think it might be helpful for you as employers to consider as you think about your interest within the program. Ultimately, creating that meaningful workplace experience for your intern. And there's a number of folks on this call who have had CREST interns within the past, and so I'm sure they'd be open to having conversations with you about creating that supportive environment for your intern. Thinking about some of the prerequisites for this position as well. And so we ask all of our employers to submit specific job descriptions for the internship the upcoming summer. And so thinking about some of those qualifications now in terms of that preparation would be extremely helpful. And then lastly, thinking about the future. Ultimately, are you thinking about hiring the student at the conclusion of that internship? As Milton mentioned, there have been a number of students who have gone on to work full-time within the industry, and we do always appreciate when those full-time offers are extended at the conclusion of those internships. And so you received an invitation today to this event that included information as it relates to signing up for the program. Also, it includes some information regarding the subsidy. I will follow up with you today regarding our employer participation form. And so this is just one additional piece that wasn't included in that original email, but we'll follow up with all of you regarding this employer participation form that we ask you all to complete. It involves some information regarding the intern that you're seeking, and again, some of those qualifications. In terms of our matching process, it's very comprehensive. And so all of our applicants are screened by our team internally. And so they complete an interview with our team, and then we get to know the students and also their potential for success within the industry. And so throughout those interviews, we gain a lot as it relates to what students are looking for and ways in which they can be challenged within their within the industry to continue their growth and supplement much of the work that they've done at their academic institutions. At that point, we then begin our matching process once we receive the completed employer participation forms and the job descriptions from you, the employers. Generally, our employers receive 1 to 3 candidates for a CREST match. And so you then have the opportunity to interview those students as it relates to the position description that you sent us. And hopefully, if all works out, you would then extend an offer to that student for the upcoming summer as your CREST intern. Again, highlighting the connection with my colleague, Sandra King, throughout the summer. She will provide that ongoing support as it relates to those touch points with you, the employer, to make sure that that student is, of course, meeting those job expectations. And then also the student would be participating in our CREST virtual education program. We do anticipate, again, this upcoming summer, most likely those 2 hours per week in which those students would be with us, the CREST program, engaging in those opportunities as it relates to both professional development and then commercial real estate business acumen. Milton? You're on mute.
Sorry, I did it again. So Jason is bringing me in for the hard detail stuff. And here, our experience has been that the industry is accommodating interns in paid internships at a minimum of $15 an hour. So we look to frame our introduction of interns in that same space for that $15 minimum, and understanding that the students that we provide are generally juniors, seniors, and some are graduate students. So we assume that within firms, the going rate, if you will, changes by way of experiences and academic background, and so we acknowledge that and accept that. That's a that's an okay place to be. Let me explain the administrative fee, which we charge, and in the case of CoreNet, in some ways and sometimes are subsidized. Mark and Aurora and others will manage those details. What we offer is that the work that was described by Jason that has us involved in recruiting through affinity groups at universities and colleges, recruiting through their online networks or in-person meetings to meet and greet students and to channel them in a direction of commercial real estate, help them understand it and channel them to it, and onboarding help, as well as fees associated with providing the virtual education program, the public speaking, the branding, the business writing courses, all part of the experience that we offer to the students. And for that, CREST charges an administrative fee of $5,000. Our relationship with CoreNet has been wonderful. In the cases of some CoreNet members, that fee has been reduced by half. So one other thing I might say here before closing out this segment is, as we mentioned earlier, our goal is twofold. One, we're looking to, our experience tells us that the students can be successful and be wonderful contributors to the work of firms. Our objective this year is to find at least 30 of them. In some cases, firms have hired more than one. We certainly welcome that. And that number 30 is important to us, in part because of the commitment CoreNet has made to look to develop a pool of 30 mentors for these students. And as we pointed out earlier, not only has it been supportive individually, but when we look back at the students who have participated in what they're doing now, I think it's safe to say that they have better footing starting their careers, whether they're going in real estate or not, because of the experience and exposure they've had to your young leaders and to this and to the events that you've helped to set up, that you're creating across the country that allow them to see what corporate commercial real estate looks like around the globe. So that's another way of my saying thank you to CoreNet for the relationship that we now have. Jason? So Jason and I stand ready to respond to questions you may have. And if we can't find if we don't have the answer today, we'll find the answer. So fire away.
Milton and Jason, thank you so much. Aurora here. And I just want to add emphasis to why Mark and I originally were so interested in making a partnership with CREST. And that is the support and the educational program that comes with being a CREST intern that CREST provides. It is the differentiator, right? In addition to how CREST vets each individual student, their academic program, make sure that there's a minimum GPA and that they are older students, juniors, seniors, and graduate students, so that there really is a very high value in creating a relationship with the CREST intern versus I would say any other intern. I'll put it right out there. And that was the reason why Mark and I were so interested, because it really is different and it really is supportive and it really is bringing the best students to our CoreNet members and our employers that are members within our chapter. So I want to make sure we highlight that because it is really important, that support.
It's huge, that competitive edge that they get. And, you know, Milton, Sandra, and Jason, they are powerhouses, to put it mildly. They are recognized in the industry for what they've been able to do to drive diversity and inclusion throughout the greater Boston area over decades. And we are so fortunate. We know that we need to diversify and we are making a difference, and it takes time. But this is an amazing opportunity to help build that pipeline, to build that network of really talented students that will create more diversity for CoreNet and for our companies. It's an opportunity to pay it forward. It does require, you got to roll up your sleeves, but it pays back so much. It's so gratifying to see the impact that we're able to have. And if you were in Chicago, you met Juliana, or you've had a chance to meet some of the others. Highly encourage you to participate. But if there are questions, and some of you have participated in the past. I called out Liberty Mutual earlier. Blake, you at CBRE have partnered with CREST. So here's a good opportunity to ask questions or talk more about the fantastic things that CREST has been able to do.
Thank you for that, Aurora. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. The other thing,
I have a
go ahead.
question. Thanks, Aurora, for hosting this. This is all new to me here at John Hancock. Do you have like a starter kit that I can share with our HR partners to, we have to go through a process, as I'm sure you guys all do.
Yeah.
That would be really helpful if you could just email that to me so I can loop those folks in and see what the company's policy and appetite is for, because it sounds like a great thing, we would like to participate in.
Absolutely. Milton and Jason will be able to, we have your email and we can make that connection going forward. Gretchen, we appreciate that. The other thing we want to be able to make sure we mention is that the reason why we're having this meeting in particular with corporate partners and with platinum sponsors, the subsidy was mentioned. Our board of directors has approved 4 subsidies available to corporate partners and platinum sponsors as an added value to your membership in our partnership. Clearly, we have more than 4 corporate partners and more than 4 platinum sponsors, but we would really hope that you would also, we would encourage you to apply for that initially, and then also say that if, also understand that we would hope that if you didn't get the subsidy, you would still continue on with providing an opportunity for an intern going forward at the full rate. But there is an opportunity between now and January to apply directly to the chapter to be selected for that subsidy. So we just want to make sure that everybody on this call understands that that opportunity is available to them, a small cohort, in order to be able to really support the program. It also supports our ability to be a champion sponsor of CREST and really have a win-win for folks that provide the most and highest level of sponsorship to the organization, including the corporate partners. We really appreciate that partnership with the chapter in and of itself. So we'll and if anybody has any questions about that, we can also double back and talk about that further.
Yes, and Gretchen will follow up with a promotional flyer as it relates to CREST, and we'd also be happy to meet with your organization or any of the players involved with that decision as it relates to the specific position at John Hancock. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
And Jason and Milton, I would emphasize that as well. You have no problem meeting with, we understand that the real estate folks, just like Gretchen said, isn't necessarily the cohort that does the hiring. It's HR, or it's also involved with maybe perhaps DEI organizations, and that you folks are willing to meet one-on-one with those HR folks to make sure that you meet all their criteria in terms of providing an intern going forward for this summer. So, and I could see Milton saying yes and Jason yes. I know they've done that in the past, so I'm not offering up something that they haven't done before or don't do do regularly. So we'll emphasize that too.
Well, luckily in our organization, I just need to put my HR baseball cap on and talk to myself. So it's kind of streamlined. But seriously, I do have a question about, how frequently do you get an architectural student involved? Because obviously anybody we're going to bring on for an internship needs to be an architect in training. I know Arrow Street had one intern. Is that a common thing?
Glad you asked that, Dan, because we're pretty proud of two steps we made last year and this year. And that is we recruited the Boston Architectural College as one of our colleges, and we placed, we've had 3 students from the college, one who's now working with, who has an extended internship with Tishman Speyer, and the other 2 were at various firms over the summer, and we'll continue with them into 2023. This year, we're glad to announce we recruited and have as a partner RISD, the Rhode Island School of Design. And the pledge there is to connect their students to the possibilities with various firms, certainly starting with architectural firms. And if the students want other experience to round out their portfolio of experiences, like being with a development firm or construction management firm, we'll help facilitate that too. So great timing on that question, Dan. And yes, we can get you somebody.
Yes, Dan, we've had about 6 students in the past 2 years. I'll just quickly show where some of those students come from. As Milton mentioned, the Boston Architectural College has been a great source for those architectural students. Here we have Domenica, who was at Leggett McCall, and then Catriona, who was at Arrow Street. We also had some great success at Tufts. We had a student, Vicky Yang, who was studying architecture, and then also engineering as well, who was placed at VHB. And then Milton recently mentioned Sammer, who was also at the Boston Architectural College. In the past, we've also had a relationship with Connecticut College to, again, identify those individuals at Arrow Street. Kevin Odweso is one of our students who has now gone on to graduate school to study architecture on the master's level. And so he's currently at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte pursuing that degree. And then also at Wellesley College, we had a student, Carolyn Lamb, who completed that virtual internship. She was an architectural student who's now with Aries Management out in California. And so about 6 students within the past 2 years. And so we do have that ability to find those architectural students. And we do hope to have a number of students from the Rhode Island School of Design this upcoming year.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. So for people on this call, that was not a setup. We had not conferred with Dan about the question and architecture, but we were going to announce the new relationships we've arranged last year and this year to show how deep the pool can be and how connected the students we find can be to the industry.
Yeah,
Other questions?
I would just like to add, since Kevin's name came up, so I was mentoring him last year, and I being an architect myself, and I think I'm really happy where he's landed. So it was very gratifying to see his picture on the board.
Dave.
And the other thing I think we wanted to mention too is the other support by the chapter, by attending ERS, by attending Summit. So those, we do consider that if the employers, especially for ERS in June, if employers are supportive of that, we'd like to be able to send, given the choice, a CREST intern for our spots to go to ERS in June. It's very early in the internship. I think it's day 1. ERS is June 5th and 6th this year. So that's day 1 of the CREST internship. But we'll say that out loud, that opportunity is also available for your intern, should you want them to participate in ERS or in Summit. We have I think we have up to 4 spots usually for ERS. Last year we had 2 that we were able to advance. For 2 CREST interns actually for ERS, which was great. So there's all kinds of support because you're organizing, finding your intern through the CoreNet, network and in our connection with CREST. There's a lot of support for the interns going forward as it relates to the chapter. I'd also mention too that the young leaders are very involved in supporting the CREST interns throughout their experience. you know, Jason mentioned participating in different events, but it's also it'll be a big cohort where we solicit mentors for this year, so that there's a connection between early career and strategies and support by folks that that really are close to that day when they were an intern themselves. We find that works out pretty well. Not that people with gray hair like me are not appreciated as mentors, but the young leaders just really step up and are very participatory in that relationship as well. So we really appreciate that from our young leader committee as well.
Great point.
Awesome.
Well, I might say also that CoreNet's getting a reputation for having great outings,
Yeah.
great parties. So, and I think that news is going to trickle down to the students who are following.
We they came out of COVID actually. I think Milton ready to meet and greet, right?
Yes,
like everybody
yes,
else. So
yes.
we saw a lot of and really, that ability that's not easy, right? To come into an organization of professionals and to really participate and step out of your shell, so to speak. It can be a scary proposition, but the
It's so
students embrace
intimidating.
it and they participate and they take good advantage of it. And we were really impressed, especially with the group last year, at how they put themselves out there and really took advantage of being part of our chapter.
That's another really good point, Aurora. We're trying to create this inclusive membership, right? And I think we're doing a really, really good job, but it can be incredibly intimidating. And if you don't know, Jackie Fala has introduced this ambassador program for newer members, younger members that don't know anybody. But the more that we can do to reach out like the young leaders are doing, and many of us are doing, it will create such a more inclusive environment. And I have received feedback that other organizations are not doing the best job of that. And it has been a challenge for new members when they don't know anybody. And many times they give up after just one meeting. So if we can make that engagement, make them feel comfortable, inclusive, the chances that they're going to come back is much, much stronger. It's something that I'm constantly thinking about because it's such an important goal for CoreNet Global, for CoreNet New England. And it's such a great opportunity. I don't know if I articulated that well enough. But I'm excited about the opportunities that we have.
So unless there are any other questions, we can give you a few minutes back on your lunch hour. You can get back to your Caesar salad or tuna fish sandwich. There you go. And really, thank you all for joining and for making CREST a consideration, a CREST intern a consideration for this summer. And any of us are available. Milton, Jason, Ankit, Blake, Mark, myself, we're all available here to answer any specific questions or help you navigate whatever process you need to navigate with your own company. We're happy to do that.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
inviting
so much.
Awesome.
Information.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
joining
very
us.
much.